Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. No matter what time of the day it is you're listening, I'm your host, Steve Smith of the Golf and Greenkeeper podcast. Welcome to episode number 9. On today's podcast episode, the Greenkeepers Shed will be making an appearance where I'd like to talk to you about golf course architecture and the relationship with golf course maintenance and how they work together to deliver an experience to you, the player, when you're out there. So some things to think about and hopefully some things that you'll start to take note of when you're out there and you'll be able to form an opinion whilst you're around and you're playing golf and thinking about what's happened and why you felt the way you felt after your round. Golf Travel's back again for the final time for New South Wales before we jump to other parts of the country. So a few areas that are last places that I wanted to talk about this time before we jump through different states. And let's start with Walking the Fairways and let's get into it. Walking the Fairways, October 15, 2020. We'll start off in the Apple Isle of Tasmania. Now, Tasmania Golf Club is soon to undergo some changes to their course with the design work there being done by Ben Davey from Contour Golf. Now, they've got a little bit happening on course and it's come about because of some upgrade to the neighbouring Tasman Highway, which runs straight alongside the golf course. Now, I don't know if you know the course that well. I don't know it intimately, but I've got an idea of its layout and sort of where it sits. And a lot's happening due to this widening of the highway. They're making it a dual carriageway, which obviously they've got to widen the corridor of the road, and it's just going to chew out some of the golf course. So they need to rejig it to make it work, to fit in the space, and obviously it's to do with the road so that there's no real you don't get a lot of options about these things. There's plenty of golf courses throughout Australia that have been affected by major roads and highways, and Tasmania Golf Club is the latest one down there. Now, they'll be constructing, as part of the overall works, they're going to be constructing a new water storage dam. They'll be redesigning their 16th and 17th holes, along with a new first green and second tee complex and a whole new driving range. So they've got a bit coming about from this. And it's probably forced their hand. It's definitely forced their hand, but it's probably got a few things coming out of it that will really be of benefit to the golf club. Like I mentioned, those couple of things, and a new driving range practice facility is always a great upgrade on courses. And usually when there's a catalyst for changes and they engage an architect to do these sorts of works to see what they can bring out in their land and in their space really well, they'll come about with some extra awesome bits and pieces that'll be additions to the golf course for their membership and guests to enjoy, which is usually, like I said, it's fantastic. It's an expensive process, no doubt, along the way, but sometimes they just need to happen, and at Tasmania, that's what's happening right now. Now, the course, I don't know if you know where it is, but the course is in the eastern suburbs of Hobart. It's actually right near Hobart Airport. It sits right on the tip of a point that juts out into Barilla Bay. It's just this cool looking little point that shoots out, and the golf course is right on the edges of it. It's such a beautiful little spot for this golf course, and it's been there for quite some time. And we've all heard about it, no doubt, and that sort of stuff if you're a traveling golfer. But where it sits, it's really, really special, right out on this point of Barilla Bay, which is sort of where the Coal River feeds into. Like I said, if you know that area, you'll sort of know what I'm talking about if you've visited there before. Now, Tasmania Golf Club is famous for its long par 5 third hole, which has this fantastic elevated tee from where you can sort of see out over all of Barilla Bay, and you can see across the edge of the bay, actually to your destination green of a third hole. But you've got to play around the bay itself. It's just this awesome par 5, and I've seen plenty of photos of it before. I've actually seen people, videoing from the tee, photos from the hole. You go and look at it on Google Earth, or I have fun doing that sort of thing if I've not been there before myself. But you just see, I've seen a lot about it. There's been publications about it. It's a great golf course, plenty of history there, and it's just a spectacular golf hole, in particular third. But overall, Tasmania is a really, really good golf course there down in Hobart. So a few things happening with Contour Golf. So we'll keep an ear to the ground for that one and keep you updated as it comes about. But they're soon to start down there, which is good news for Tasmania Golf Club. Still in Tassie, you may or may not know. Well, look, who am I kidding? Who doesn't know about Barnbugle Dunes? Barnbugle has been around, well established, fantastic golf course, 36-hole complex, but we are now going to add another course to it. Core and Crenshaw, who did the Lost Farm down there, have, obviously, that was one of the golf courses there called the Lost Farm. They're building a short course at Barnbugle called the Bugle Run. Now, it's located next to the Lost Farm golf course. And I can't say that the Lost Farm is an 18-hole golf course. I can't say it's next to the 18-hole course. It's the Lost Farm because, of course, the Lost Farm is not 18 holes. It is 20 because Barnbugle just do things differently and they do it the best. Aside from that, it's next to the Lost Farm, but Bugle Run is not 18. Bugle Run is a 14-hole short course. Yes, a 14-hole short course, something different. They always do things differently down there, but they do it the best. 14-hole short course, it's going to have 12 par 3s and 2 short par 4s. Now, everything is exceptional about Barnbugle, even the number of holes per course, and I just cannot wait to get there one day myself before I kick the bucket. Honestly, this is another string to their bow, another piece of the puzzle. Barnbugle is special in so many ways, and this is going to add to that. If you haven't been there, once we can travel again and get into Tassie, I'm sure people are going to be tonguing to get into Barnbugle. And no doubt before too long, when this is completed, it's been slowed down by the coronavirus. A lot of the construction workers and that had to fly home and all sorts of stuff before lockdown. So it has slowed down. I'm not sure if it's picked back up yet, as it were, but it's certainly coming along, or it was coming along in leaps and bounds. And no doubt before we know it, it will be on our doorstep. So the Bugle Run, something a little bit different and quirky to add to Barnbugle Dunes overall, the complex. So you've got an 18-hole golf course of Barnbugle Dunes. You've got the Lost Farm, which is a 20-hole golf course next door to it, all part of the same facility. And now we're going to add the Bugle Run, a 14-hole short course. So many reasons to enjoy Barnbugle. Love it and can't wait. Now going to head over to another state, a bit like Tassie, that haven't spoken about a great deal lately. In WA, in Perth, to the suburb of Fremantle, to Fremantle Golf Club. Now, Fremantle Golf Club is a 9-hole council-run golf course that is at the start of a redesign, again, like Tasmania Golf Club, due to neighbouring road modifications. Now, the changes to the course have been done by Aspect Studios in conjunction with course architect Richard Chamberlain, and the course is going to have quite a lot of changes about it overall. Where it's again, much like Tasmania, it's a catalyst. All these things have fallen into place, and they're going to go about a whole lot of changes. So along with the course changes, they'll be getting a whole new clubhouse built for the golf club. Like I mentioned, it's a 9-hole golf course. And I don't often talk about nines. I don't have anything against 9 holes. They're just often not quite as popular as 18s. I don't really get around to playing the 9-hole ones a great deal either myself. I do enjoy a longer format of the game, but I've got earmarked to start to play a few because there are a couple of little 9-hole courses that have a reasonable wraps around near where I live on Sydney's all the beaches. So, but look, Fremantle Golf Club, like I said, 9-holer. It's going to, with the changes, it's going to retain its par 34. And there'll be 3 completely new golf holes, including the introduction of a par 5. So if you know the course, you obviously know what it was, and this is what it's going to change to. Now, they'll be replacing, as part of the works, they'll be replacing all the tees and greens, and there'll be new bunkering around the course as well. So there's quite a lot going on. I've had a look at the new plans. It looks like it's going to be a good little track, although what appears to be, for boundary safety reasons, it's a bit of an odd walking arrangement where you sort of kind of have a long walk. It's kind of the length of one of the holes, actually, to get around to get to the next hole. And for example, between holes 4 and 5, we have to walk around 200 metres, nearly the length of the 6th hole to get from the 4th green to the 5th tee. So there's a few little oddities about it, but once you start doing modifications to golf courses like this, and certainly in suburbia, in and around houses and commercial buildings and all sorts of stuff, it does bring into some of the issues of age with regards to golf course design in terms of its proximity to the boundary and safety issues and that and thereabouts. So redesigning a 9-hole, any golf course, redesigning, they often have to address some of those issues that were inherent with the course when it was originally designed, and then sort of the city and suburbs and towns built around them. So that's what they've done here. It's like I said, on the plans, it looks a little bit like there's a few little extra long walks so that they could adjust the course to fit in safely with the new layout. But sort of they're minor things, I suppose, and ultimately what they're going to get out of it looks like it's going to be pretty good indeed. Now, minor in the scheme of things, but the works have recently begun and the course is now closed. So it's closed at the moment until completion. Now, that is set for mid next year, being 2021, although they're saying that the new driving range could be open sooner. So they're also doing works to that space as well. Now, for those like me that don't know the golf course very well, it's in the beautiful coastal suburb of Fremantle, right next to Royal Fremantle Golf Club, which is southwest of Perth CBD. So there you go, Fremantle Golf Club, 9-holer in Perth, WA, getting a bit of a makeover. Moving now into Victoria, into Melbourne lockdown. So hard to believe that the people of metropolitan Melbourne are still locked into their homes, are still locked out of their golf courses. I suppose it's a little bit nicer for the rest of us so far in the country where we're out playing golf, but you guys have had such a difficult run down there, and I can't imagine what it's like to have been locked up at home for that long effectively, and it continues on. So we're feeling for you, and I'm sure you can't wait to get out on the golf course. But when you do, there's been a lot happening in and around your golf courses, and along with the change in the season. So spring has come, it's growing time, everything's looking fantastic, and I'm sure you're hanging out on social media, keeping an eye on your golf courses and seeing how they're going. But there's also been bits and pieces of improvements to the courses as well, and one of those is Woodlands. Now, Woodlands is down on the Melbourne Sandbelt, for those that don't know, and for me, it's a completely underrated golf course. Woodlands really should be in the... It's often left out of the conversation, especially for those that are from different states. I'm from New South Wales, and when we hear about and talk about the Sandbelt, you talk about the Royal Melbournes, the Metropolitans, the Kingston Heaths, the Huntingdales. But for whatever reason, Woodlands is always the last. It's like you list all the others, and then you go, oh, yeah, and Woodlands. And I think that's totally unfair. I was lucky enough when I went down to Melbourne in my last trip before the world of coronavirus, I met up with Andrew McComb from Golf Getaway TV. Now, Andrew was doing a little bit of work at Woodlands, and he was nice enough to take me for a drive around the course and show me the golf course as a whole, because I didn't get a chance to play it. And it just looks as good as the rest. I'm serious. So if you're from another state, when Melbourne opens up for golf, and I'm sure we'll all be flooding back down there, let me assure you, I know I want to be. New baby, might be a little bit difficult, but I'll be wanting to get down there in a hurry. Woodlands is one that's on the list. You have to go there and play it. Honestly, it looks fantastic. Certainly more trees than the others. It's in the name, I suppose, a little bit. But, I think Woodlands is underrated. But at Woodlands, nonetheless, they've been doing a little bit of work on course, as most of them have, and they've been re-leveling out their second teeth. They stripped it up, re-leveled it up, because the levels often change over time, top dressing and a little bit of, change in the way that, maintenance is, thatch levels and growth rates and all sorts of stuff. And over time, levels change slightly. So they've stripped it back, redone it, leveled it out. It's going to be nice and silky smooth again. So there's a little bit happening at Woodlands that I've heard about, and I just wanted to give you an update. But honestly, put Woodlands on your list, and I want to get there next time. So there you go. When I'm down that way. Now, Crafter and Mogford from Golf Strategies, they've been busy at Barwon Heads Golf Club down on the Bellarine Peninsula, and that's where they've been rebuilding. The fourth green surface was lifted, so they stripped it up, lifted it off, so they could re-profile the green for one. So that's just to make it better growing conditions for the turf itself, but also introduce tighter surrounds surfaces to provide a wider variety of playing options, sort of to give you options like from the high lob shots to bouncing running shots into the green. So they wanted to introduce all these different varieties of playing options to the hole. So it's going to really, no doubt, change the way the hole can be played for plenty of different people. But also, I think that's a really good part of golf design and architecture is nothing is more difficult to a golfer than choice. Honestly, it is the most difficult. If you're given no option to do anything else but one type of shot, your brain doesn't have anything to question. You don't have anything to think about. You just got to try and execute that one shot. And with regards to different levels of skill. Some people can do it better than others. But when there's choice, when there's options, the best players can certainly come a gutter just from within between their ears. They sit there and they go, right, okay, this is the way I'm going to play, depending on the wind, depending on the way that the course is set up. Has it been soft with raining? Has it been hot and dry and windy and all sorts of stuff? Is it firm and bouncy? But if you've got choice and options, you can play to that destination pin location a couple of different ways. In your mind, you second guess sometimes whether that's the right choice. So when there's no option to do anything but one type of shot, there's no concern in your brain. When there's a couple of different choices, all of a sudden you can be mid backswing, and we've all been there and done it, mid backswing and think, shit, is this the right shot to make now? And it's too late. You're mid swing. You end up doing all sorts of things on the way down, stopping short on the follow through, or opening the blade up. God forbid, hitting a shank. All sorts of stuff if you're hitting a short iron in. So, look, this is great. I think this is really, really good, bringing options and shot types to the fourth green down at Bowen Head. So, Crafter and Mogford are doing it. And it's going to change the way that the hole is played. They're also working, and they've also been doing a bit of work at Metropolitan, which is on the sandbelt. So we swing back over the other side of Melbourne, down on the sandbelt, where the club's rebuilding their 13th green complex. What they're doing is they're opening up the entrance to that hole. So I don't know if you know the hole, it's par 3. They're opening up the entrance to the green by trimming the existing front left bunker where it comes out in front of the green. They're trimming it back away from that entrance and replacing it with a grassy hollow, along with some minor modifications to the front left sort of surface levels of the green itself. Now, this will allow more shots to be bounced or run into the green complex for the shorter hitters, which is what one of their goals is to open that up for the shorter hitters of the ball so that they're able to sort of make their way onto the green without completely being hammered by that bunker. But it's also going to open up more pin positions. That's why the levels are slightly being adjusted on the front left portion. They're allowing for more pin positions to be located there as well. So in effect, it will open it up to the shorter hitters, but it will also give them something to make more difficult with having more pins in that area with this grassy hollow. So it's going to be a little black hole for golf balls down on that front left section too. And then you'll have that choice again. We talk about choice. You're going to have choice. It's not a bunker shot out of sand. Will you chip it? Will you putt it? Will you? What are you going to do? Will you bump it into the bank and pop it up, depending on the moisture content of the ground, depending on the wind, depending on all the speed of the playing surfaces? So there's going to be, again, choice. So the grassy hollow will allow different shot options on that particular hole if you miss it short. And that's going to play with people's minds. Cool little things happening in some of the Craft and Mogford stuff that's going on. And look, down at Metro, if their green surfaces are anything to go by, these new latest bits of work are going to be epic on those surfaces. So, yeah, a few things going on that Crafter and Mogford have been up to, and that's a little bit of some of the work that's happening on in Melbourne. Final state to visit on Walking the Fairways will be New South Wales. We jump straight into the Murray River region, into Rich River Golf Club down at Chuka-Moama on the Moama side of the Murray River. Now, I've mentioned this course in the golf travel segment on my last podcast, Rich River. Now, at the end of last year, Centreline Golf, and they're the guys who are currently doing work at St Michael's Golf Club in Sydney, which I mentioned in the last podcast. So Centreline Golf were very busy down on the east course of Rich River, with some serious redesigning work to the 17th hole, including reshaping of a large lake that runs down the left-hand side of the hole. That, if you've seen any of these images, and when you eventually go to the golf course, if you've been there before and you haven't been back, when you go there, you're going to see some serious changes. Now, the previous year to that, which was 2018, Centreline had also been part of some changes to the west course. As I mentioned in the golf travel segment, Rich River has 2 east and west courses. They were doing some work on the west course 2018. The end of last year, they were doing work on the east course to the 17th. There's full redesign of the way that hole's going to play. So, look, Rich River has been very busy with plenty of work going on down there. They haven't been static at all over the last 2 years. So if you know Rich River, and like I said, the whole point of the golf travel segment is to get out there and enjoy other places. If you haven't been back, get back there. And if you haven't been there before, you're going to love Rich River down on the Murray. So that's a little bit of work of what they've been up to. Into Sydney we go, into the Australian Golf Club, right into the big dog. Now, at the Aussie, as it is affectionately known, they've been rebuilding their southern driving range, and that's including a huge chipping green. It is massive, this thing. I'm not sure the details on the exact dimension or the exact area, but this is absolutely just massive. I actually had a chat with a member of the golf club, and they were telling me how enormous this chipping green is, and it's like anything that gets done at the Aussie. It's going to be the absolute peak of presentation and quality. That's what they do. People will discuss and talk about different ways of maintaining golf courses and Australian golf courses and whatnot. But at the Aussie itself, that's how they do stuff. If you've ever seen the Open and you've ever played or been to the Australian before in Sydney, you'll know it is probably one of the best kept golf courses in the country in terms of quality and presentation. And this driving range and practice facility is no different, let me tell you. So a massive chipping green being built there. They're also building a little short course of sorts. It's going to be in that area with a few greens. It's got 11 bunkers. The bunkers are being done with custom bind. There's that bunker liner again that I've mentioned before. Custom bind seems to be one of the selected bunker liners of choice by a lot of people in the greenkeeping industry at the moment. So custom bind is the one that's being used at the Aussie on all of the new bunkers in this short course area around these greens that are being built. So yeah, a little addition to the Aussie that's being done over there behind the fence lines that most people can't see. But if you browse you can see some of it on social media. So if you browse some of it there, you'll see some of the stuff that's coming out of it. Moving up the north coast of New South Wales into a little golf course called Teven Valley Golf Club. Now, Teven Valley, Teven, Teven Valley. Now, basically, it is a self-titled boutique 9-hole golf course. It's up in the Byron Bay region of northern New South Wales, about 30 minutes southwest of Byron itself. It's literally just west of Ballina, which is sort of where the Ballina-Byron airport is. So if you're flying to there, it's just west of there. Now, it's currently being rebuilt. And Craig Parry, which I'm sure you've all heard of, the tour pro that we've seen that carried the Australian flag on many an occasion, sinking his second shot into the 18th at Doral and the Blue Monster to win back in early 2000s. I think anyone who's sort of been following golf for a little while remembers that one shot of Craig's. Lovely guy. I've been fortunate enough to play with Craig Parry actually at the Aussie. Strangely enough, those two headlines went back to back, but Craig is such a lovely guy. Anyway, beside the point, Craig is now doing a bit of design work. He's involved with a redesign at Teven Valley. The Teven Valley is set along Maguires Creek, and it's making a few waves in the greenkeeping circles of New South Wales with a high quality of construction. Again, the bunkers at Teven Valley have been done with custom bind. There's that product again. So they're built with custom bind, and on the golf course, they're using zoysia grass planted throughout. I'm yet to find out the details of which type of zoysia exactly, but zoysia nonetheless. It's one of those new grasses that I've mentioned in the past that's starting to be put out on golf courses certainly around New South Wales and a couple of other areas along the east coast of Australia. Now, the course is currently closed whilst they're building their new driveway into the club, but it's looking at being opened again in November. So not far away if you've been there before. 9-hole golf course. It's starting to get a bit of a name. This is going to be a 9-hole, more or less, segment, I think, this part of the podcast. So another 9-hole track. Keep your ears to the ground about Teven Valley because it's starting to look pretty cool as a boutique 9 to play when you're up that side. Craig Parry, as I mentioned, is starting to get into this golf design business recently. And he's being engaged at a few places around the traps, like in New South Wales. So he's in the state of New South Wales. He's been involved at Cabramatta Golf Club, which is on the southern suburbs of Sydney, southwestern suburbs of Sydney. He's been involved at Bayview Golf Club on the northern beaches of Sydney, some redesign work there. He's also involved at Tuncurry Golf Club, which I've mentioned in my golf travel segment, up the mid-north coast of New South Wales, at near Foster Tuncurry there. You may or may not know, but he was also previously involved. So they're current projects that he's been working at. previously he was involved at Cowinda Waters on the Central Coast with architect Ross Watson. And most people who have been to New South Wales and play golf along the east coast of New South Wales have heard of Cowinda. It's got a pretty good rap. It's an enjoyable golf course. I don't mind it. A bit challenging as well, which is always nice. And Ross Watson did a great job there, but that was also in partnership with Craig Parry. Mount Derrimut down in Victoria, Craig was working with Pacific Coast Design. So there's just a few courses that he's been at. So I was sort of just starting to uncover Craig's name a little bit, being attached to a few golf courses. So he's certainly pushing into a few places, getting a little bit more work done, trying to get his name out there in this realm a little bit more. So you may be hearing a little bit more about Craig Parry in the world of golf design, and we'll just keep our ears to the ground about that one and keep reporting that to you as they happen and some of the places that he might be working at. Now, with that, I have to mention Palm Beach Golf Club on Sydney's Northern Beaches. Now, Palm Beach, Craig is involved there. It's a little 9-hole track that's wedged on the spit of sand between the Pacific Ocean and Pittwater on the Northern Beaches. They have just started the rebuilding phase of all of their greens and surrounds. So they're doing the whole lot, all 9 greens. I will put up some of the images. So I went out there the other day because it's not too far from where I live. It's about sort of half an hour or so. I went out there the other day and had a little bit of a sticky beak at some of the work that was happening. So I'm going to throw up some images on my Instagram and Facebook for you to have a sticky beak at. But there's quite a few things going on at the small track of Palm Beach. It will be quite interesting to see how it all comes through and what it's going to be presented as with the final designs and the way that the holes are going to play. Unfortunately, I'd never played that golf course previous to these works, so I won't have a baseline for when I do play there after the works have been completed, which I certainly hope to get up there and have a look at. But I'll be sticking my head in on and off in between while all this stuff is happening and throwing you a few photos and things to look at on my social media pages so you can stay up to date. But there's a few things with Craig Parry and a few things that are happening in Sydney. That's Walking the Fairways for episode number 9. Let's jump to the Greenkeepers Shed. On the Greenkeepers Shed today, I mentioned at the top of the episode that I wanted to talk about the relationship between golf course maintenance, course architecture, and your experience. Let's get into it. The relationship between course architecture and course maintenance is inherently intimate, yet very one-sided. On one hand, you have architecture, the creative, emotional spirit that influences the land with, at its best, the assistance of Mother Nature and Father Time. And the other hand, you have maintenance, a self-centered, egotistical maniac driven by numbers that has vanity at the heart of who it is. No wonder these two are seldom seen getting along at any golf club. The best of the best clubs, however, at their first meeting when creating a golf club, sit these two in a room together, work out the details of a prenuptial agreement with the hope that they will forever be blissfully bound to dance through time as a never-ending perfect 10 doing the tango. It's bloody tough to get it right, I'm here to tell you. But enough of the metaphors. Let me explain what I mean when I say very one-sided. Once the architecture is completed, post the last grain of sand being put into place during construction, it's then up to those tasked with maintaining the golf course, be it greenkeepers of the golf club or a contractor, that have the ultimate say as to what you experience when you're playing that golf course. And maintenance is, of course, a moving target. We all know that. It's a moving target because it's a living space that's out in the elements. Let me give you an analogy of what I mean. It'd be like trying to look after a beautiful piece of art for everyone to enjoy year in, year out. Let's say the Mona Lisa, for argument's sake, and let's say it's made of grass, a living plant, just to keep things somewhat similar in this weird analogy. So because it's always growing, you have to trim it all the time. And you have to water it all the time. You have to fertilize it and keep it in perfect condition. But it's not inside a climate-controlled room like the Mona Lisa is in real life. No, it's outside. So it's in the rain, it's in the wind, it's in the sun. And yet you still have to try and keep it looking perfect every day. And the Mona Lisa, the one that we're trying to talk about in this analogy, is not 77 centimeters by 53 centimeters. It's the size of the Vatican City. Yes, the Vatican City. It's around 49 hectares or 120 acres. And that's just the average sized golf course to give you an idea. So the artist has done the work, and then it's up to those in charge of looking after it to maintain it as it was originally designed for everyone to enjoy. The short version of what I'm trying to say is that unless the knowledge and skill, time, money, and effort are put into maintaining the original artwork, it will otherwise become something totally different over time. Imagine what the Mona Lisa would look like if someone wanted to add something to the Mona Lisa, like to make it look better. Say they painted a hat on her head, or they painted on a pair of glasses. Or through neglect, what if just dust accumulated on it over the years? Or the room was so humid that mold started growing on it. All of a sudden, it's probably not that special apart from its age, really, is it? Same goes for a golf course. Now, I'm not saying that golf courses are culturally significant as the Mona Lisa, but in some instances, they are an incredible example of past visionaries of course architecture on pieces of ground that would have otherwise been lost to urban sprawl. Not only that, but new courses can also be wonderful examples, and time will tell whether or not they'll be able to be maintained just the same in the future. Those clubs and greenkeepers that are the caretakers of golf courses, I think, should understand the importance of architecture of the game. And that's why I think it's important for clubs to have a consulting architect to assist in this manner where possible. So if you have a club that can no longer afford to maintain their golf course, and they start cutting back on course labour and budgets relating to ongoing maintenance, before long, the golf course will change its characteristics and slowly become something different to play. That's a fact. It is absolutely a fact. And likewise, if they play too much with it and want to add a bunker or three here and there, or change the location and orientation of a green, for example, these things can have a detrimental effect to how the course was originally intended to play. But it's not always about leaving things alone after construction either. Sometimes it's unaffordable early on to add these items, and it's done later when money becomes available, but should be done by someone with experience and skill. And that's where an architect comes into play. Not just an architect, but certainly those experienced. Now let's look at Royal Melbourne. We all know Royal Melbourne. Let's look at Royal Melbourne, an incredible 36-hole facility. The West Course designed by Alistair Mackenzie and the East by Alex Russell. Now, if for argument's sake, current director of courses, Richard Forsyth, and his team went walkabout, just said, well, that's it, we're out, up and left. And they were replaced by 4 Jim's mowing guys that came to maintain the course. Now, I've got nothing against the Jim's mowing guys, but I'm just saying, Richard Forsyth and his guys are gone. Jim's mowing comes in, and there's 4 blokes to look after the course. Now, you would probably find that before too long, the courses would slowly start to become something totally different, especially with a lack of intimate knowledge about how to maintain the turf surfaces, let alone the rest of the periphery parts of the course that give it its local character. Same layout, but how could 4 blokes with no golf course maintenance knowledge possibly maintain those 2 courses the same as they currently are? They can't. It's not possible. They'll do their Sunday best, but it won't be anywhere near enough. So the course will ultimately become something different just naturally over time and the way that it will grow and change. Now take a local course with no profile at all. For argument's sake, let's just say it was my old course at Katoomba, so that way I don't offend anyone. No designer of note in its history up there with Katoomba in the past. A course with a checkered history, recent changes to the layout because of a development, a club that was going broke and a developer that had no money. At its lowest point, there were only 2 of us maintaining 18 holes. 2 qualified greenkeepers. We had a minimal budget, whereby at one point we couldn't even afford to repair the greens mower. We only had 1. We couldn't afford to repair that greens mower when it had a breakdown. For over a week, we couldn't mow the greens. That's how bad it got. That's how bad it got at one point. That was the lowest point. I nearly walked out, but I didn't. It was pretty shit house. And the course presented exactly as you can imagine. It was shit. Comments from visitors were like, it was a short course. A lot of comments from the visitors were, it was a really short course. It's barely a golf course. This isn't a golf course. It's too short to be 18 holes. This is a joke. You know, the layout and some of the holes are terrible to play. The condition is disgraceful. That's a lot of the things that were being thrown around. We used to often hear it. They're thrown our way. There were loud comments around people leaving the golf course in disgust, whatever it might be. But the two of us who were tasked with looking after the golf course, because that's all the club could afford, we were doing our Sunday best, and it was still terrible. We just couldn't do anywhere near enough to make the course reasonably playable at best. I couldn't do anywhere near enough to make it what I wanted to make it. There was no money for it. And there was no labour. I was embarrassed, but it was my first gig as super, and I was giving it everything I had. Enter a new developer with money and a vision. Now, put in place a healthy budget, plenty of labour at my disposal, an upgraded list of machinery and course improvements. All of a sudden, over a few years, I was able to do my thing and bring the best out in the course with my new team. And we did just that, to the point where we were having huge charity golf days. And I mean big time charity golf days. Lots of money being donated through major sponsors, visiting players from football clubs and celebrities playing golf up there. We had rugby league teams, we had V8 supercar drivers, all sorts of stuff. We had pro-am events. We had pro-am events with huge compliments from the playing pros. The course layout was the same. It was essentially the same short-ass course that everyone used to carry on about. But the quality of the surfaces and overall condition of the course was black and white compared to when I started. All because I was able to do my thing. I mean, the layout, the greens, the tees, the fairways were exactly the same, more or less. And of it, about 75% of the golf course was the original golf course. It was the original golf course from back in, I think the course opened in, I think it was about 1920 something. It was the original golf course. But people were now having a much better experience. They were enjoying themselves. They would walk off the golf course with a smile from ear to ear, booking the next round. They became members of the course, of the club. So they had a totally different experience. Of course, the architecture didn't really change much at all. So they had a different experience once the maintenance side was brought up to speed. Lots of people these days bang on about a golf course being so good to play because it was designed by so-and-so and they've designed this many golf courses. But at the end of the day, course condition will ultimately give you a good or bad experience. I've got a couple of examples of courses that I enjoy to play in New South Wales. One of them, Cypress Lakes, up in the Hunter Valley, and the other one's Horizons, which is at Port Stephens, which is not far from Newcastle and the Hunter Valley either. Now, those two courses were built by notable architects in their time. Horizons was a Watson Marsh design, and Cypress Lakes was a Steve Smyers design. And they were new builds from scratch. And when they came out and opened up with a bang, the quality of the surfaces was outstanding. The design was wonderful and enjoyable and challenging to play. But because the maintenance was up to spec and up to a high expectation level, people would enjoy themselves. Fast forward 20 years between now and 10 years ago, sort of 20 years after they opened. And slowly, budgets were dwindled, staffing was reduced, quality of the course was dropping significantly. Cyprus, I know, dropped more or less off the planet. People didn't want to go there. It was that terrible that people were, murmurs around in golf were to avoid Cypress Lakes altogether. It was a complete dog's breakfast. Same with Horizons, even up until recently. So they weren't enjoyable to play at all. People were recommending you steer clear of them. Horizons more recently, quality was starting to go the wrong way. Now things have changed and they're turning around again. But what happened was the design didn't change. The golf courses were the same great layouts and designs that they were when they opened. But eventually the maintenance fell away and it gave a bad experience. The design wasn't being able to be enjoyed or played because the maintenance level has to be at a certain point for that design to work. If you've got fairways cut in different shapes, you've got greens cut in different shapes, you've got bunkers missing or maintained, they remove them. Grass isn't running out how it should. Grass is too fast and it's running out too much. All sorts of different things. And they weren't good experiences. But now that the condition is coming back and there's money being invested into these courses now and slowly condition is being built back up, all of a sudden the design starts to stand out again and is enjoyed again. So my point is that you can have the best designed golf course, a real work of art, But if for whatever reason it can't be maintained appropriately at any point during its life, it could well become a complete dog's breakfast and a terrible experience. Conversely, a golf course with no notable architect that was designed by, say, John's Landscape Architects for a local council and but it's maintained with a healthy budget and good skills, can be a standout experience because of the high quality of the turf surfaces and the overall course condition and presentation. It's just good on the eye and it's uplifting when you get out there. If it looks good when you turn up at the driveway, all of a sudden you feel better with what you're about to experience. And if that continues through your experience, you walk off the 18th drive out the driveway and all of a sudden you go, how good's that? When can I go back? The relationship between these two key components of a golf course are incredibly intertwined. However, you don't need a golf course designed by a famed architect to have a good experience. But when the two are combined very well, there is the opportunity to get something completely unforgettable. Completely unforgettable. At the end of the day, regardless of design, I think all golf clubs really need to understand that having an appropriate budget allocated to the maintenance of their golf course will really keep them in good stead to provide a great experience for all that walk their fairways. That is what I believe is the key balance and relationship between those two components and your experience: golf course architecture and golf course maintenance. And the maintenance is what really ultimately decides how things are viewed. I'd love to know your thoughts. So drop me a line, send me a message. I'll put up a couple of posts and happy to talk about it. But I really think that that's the breakdown of it, and that's what gives you your experience. Let me know. And that's the Greenkeepers Shed. Let's get into some more golf travel. Now, this segment has been running for a few of the podcast episodes, and it's got me excited about looking forward to traveling around and playing a bit more golf. I've been looking into some of these courses, places I know pretty well, some places that I don't know so well that I'm new to, and it's really interesting looking into some of the history of the clubs and certainly where they're located and what they look like, and getting a bit excited about them as well. So golf travel it is. This will be the final segment. I finally got my head around all of the places I wanted to talk about in New South Wales. This is the last one to do with New South Wales, and next time I'll be talking about some regions into other states around the country. Let's finish it off. I know the last episode I finished off that golf travel segment with the Fleurieu Peninsula in South Australia, and I got all excited with the border opening between New South Wales and South Australia, so I had to throw some SA courses in there. But like I said, heading back to New South Wales to finish off my recommendations, let's go to Newcastle and the Hunter Valley. 2 hours north of Sydney is where they're located. Now, if you don't know this area very well, it's a pretty big space. The Hunter Valley is obviously very popular, and Newcastle is a very large city, a couple of hours north there in the port of Newcastle at the mouth of the Hunter River. These areas are connected to Sydney by a big freeway, so it's easy to get to them, a couple of hours north. And I love going there. Love going there for golf. Love going there for holidaying. If you like your wines, you'll go there and you'll live it up there large as well. Great accommodation options. But there are a lot of great golf courses to play in this region, and I've sort of broadened it a little bit as well. So I've got a hub base for you to stay, and literally you could stay there for 2 weeks straight here based at the Hunter and play all these golf courses that are within the furthest I've got here. It's about an hour and a half would be the furthest drive to get to one of these courses. So that's what I'm talking about. Who wouldn't want to stay in one of Australia's most popular and most visited wine regions after each round? But that's really, I've got to tell you, that's sensational. If you can go out, play golf, come back and just chill out with a wine, tasting different wines, go to a vineyard on a day off in between, you'll do a wine tour, have different restaurants. There's so many places to eat. This is just a sensational part of the country to stay, enjoy, and to ultimately to play golf. So set up your hub somewhere in and around the small village called Pacolban. Now, that is, in my opinion, the unofficial capital of the Hunter Valley itself, the wine area. Cessnock, the town of Cessnock, is much larger. It it probably really is the actual capital of the Hunter Valley region. But I like Pecolbin, just out of Cessnock. It's basically where a lot of the wineries are. It's where some of the golf courses are as well, and that's really, you'll find plenty of accommodation options out there to stay. So set yourself up in Pecolbin, and we're going to go first course to the Vintage. Now, the Vintage is a golf course that's designed by Greg Norman Golf Course Design, and at the time in the 90s, Bob Harrison was the chief architect behind the Vintage. Now, we all know Bob, or a lot of us would probably know Bob from Harrison Golf, which is now his own design firm. But Bob was behind the Vintage up there at Pecolbin. And look, this course is a great starting course. It sort of gives you a real sense of the area, and it's a great challenge as well. It's got some great holes around it. It's got some nice long holes, a couple of good short holes. The 17th, for example, is a great little downhill par 3 to finish sort of as your penultimate hole. But look, for me, it's the par 5s here that I love, especially the 7th, which runs all the way along the boundary of the course and that neighbours Bimbadgin Estate Winery. As you venture the 7th hole, it's a really interesting sort of a roller coaster par 5. You reach a crest that you have to negotiate from the tee, where at this point, once you climb to the top, everything opens up in front of you with a sensational view of the hole and the neighbouring winery at Bimbadgin. It's that close. You can almost taste the wine. It's really, really good. And like I said, the Vintage has got some great holes. It can be quite challenging, especially if you get the westerlies up that can happen in that region, blowing across the Brokeback Range. And it's a very testing course as well, but very enjoyable and a good place to start. Great accommodation all around there too. Like I said, you can pick anywhere to stay. But the Vintage is a good one. Now, after the Vintage, for me, your next stop is Cypress Lakes. Now, I've got a soft spot for Cypress. Lots of people know I do. And I fell in love with Cypress back in its glory days in the early 2000s for me. I used to hold an annual industry greenkeeping event there. And when I saw it for the first time, it was captivating for me. I absolutely loved it, the drama of the course. And, it's had a checkered recent past with multiple owners, but it seems now to have finally settled on its current owners, who are really working hard on the place. They're investing a lot of money now. Really, they've just, in the last couple of years, redone pretty much all their bunkers and brought them up to speed. It's now really presentable and really consistent now to play golf on throughout the course, and finally coming back to its former glory, which is really, really good to see. The course, for me, is off its head fun. It's fun yet challenging. There's real drama with the land. It's a Steve Smyers design, and it opened back in 1992 and was probably one of the first resort courses built in the Hunter Valley outside the local town courses of like Cessnock, Curry, and Maitland, which all have their own golf courses around. But it was really one of the first resort courses there. Actually, I think it was probably second behind the old Portofino's, which is now goes by the name of Hunter Valley Golf Course, next to the Crown Plaza there as well. So, look, like I said, I'll keep name dropping accommodation, name dropping, architects and stuff as well. So it really is a good place to get in there and play golf. And Cypress, look, I love a lay of the land. It's half routed through the vineyards, literally, with the second hole. They've done a couple of changes to the routing numbers. It runs slightly different to when I used to like it, and I did like the old routing and the old numbering. It's changed sort of around a little bit now. But what is now the second hole and the sixth holes, you actually play across vineyards themselves, which is so Hunter Valley. Trust me, when you get there, it's just so Hunter Valley. And it's just a unique part of Cypress Lakes. The other half of the course is sort of around a hillside where you start to get a few views across the Hunter Valley a little bit. It's got, holes like there's a par 3, the 11th, where there's a bunker carved into the rock face. The 12th hole, which is possibly what I think is probably the largest and longest roller coaster par 4 ride I think I've ever played from the back tees. I think it's 444 meters from the back tees to the green. As a par 4, you hit across a gully, over a mountain, then back down into a gully, and then up to the green. It's just, like I said, it's off its head. There's drama with the lay of the land. It's pretty intense, and for a lot of people, it's too much. But for me, when the condition's right, it plays well enough, and the condition is starting now to get right again, which I really, really love. Favorite holes for me, look, they're nearly all 18 of my favorites. There's a couple of the par threes, that the ones that you hit, the sixth, the par five roller coaster, the 12th as well, the 16th, the 17th. There's so many good holes, which I really love. And for me, it's the Hunter Valley's version of Bonneville, with the elevation changes throughout the course that just really create this mega drama. That's how I see it. I'm a big fan of Cypress, and I'll always talk it up. I've had some mixed experiences there in the past with different, I suppose, owners and personnel changes and whatever. But if it's purely based on golf course itself, you got to see it and experience it. Third in the area here to play would be Hunter Valley Golf Course, which I did just mention, which was the old Portofino's. Now, it's out by the Crown Plaza. You pass it more or less on the way into Pecolbin, between Cessnock and Pecolbin itself. It's a reasonably flat course, sort of in this sort of region, and there's not a lot of elevation changes in this part of the world, but Hunter Valley Golf Course is reasonably flat compared to the other two. And for me, it lacks that bit of drama of the other two resort courses on the ground. It's still enjoyable, and there's enough interest for sort of the most people, but really not quite the entertainment level of the other two. But if you're there to play golf and experience other golf courses, you won't be disappointed. It's still a good course to play. They're the three of right in the Hunter Valley itself, in amongst the wineries. From here, if you're based at Pecolbin with your accommodation, you can start to do day trips for golf. And they're not long day trips either. So we'll start doing things, and we're heading out a little bit. But because you're doing day trips, don't forget that there's restaurants that you can eat at in the Hunter Valley. So when you go out and play golf, come back, you can literally eat at a different restaurant every night. You won't eat at the same place twice if you really don't want to. So that's the beauty of this region. It's so diverse. Now we're going to day trip to Newcastle Golf Club. Now, I've recently mentioned that not too long ago in the podcast. It is on your hit list, and it is a true gem of a golf course. It's about 1 hour from Pecolbin, straight east, straight to the coast. And it's at Fern Bay. And look, it's set amongst the sand dunes just behind the seemingly infinite Stockton Beach. Newcastle is regularly regarded as one of the best courses in the country. It's an Eric Appley design from, I think it's 1907 was when it started. It's got this beautiful Australian setting, bush setting, but it's a sand base. And some of the roller coaster and elevation changes that Eric Appley laid out in these holes that, runs so the fourth green, then you got the fifth, the sixth, the great, beautiful little par 3-7. You head out to the back nine, you got ones like 10, which is just the most incredibly spectacularly fun par 5 I think I've played that's got that much age and history to it. It really is a fantastic hole. And barring the last 3 holes, the rest of the golf course, and I say that because when you go there, you'll know what I mean. They run out by one of the main roads there, and it's just a little bit lacking compared to the rest of it. It's a little bit of an anticlimax, and I think they're probably the only real reason why it doesn't rate even higher. But the rest of the course is just so good. You'll struggle to get on at Newcastle. It's very well patronised by the members. It's a club course, a local course. The members are plenty, and you will struggle to get on there because they do love their golf course. But give yourself notice and work out and plan your trip ahead, and you'll get on. And it's not to be missed. Newcastle Golf Club is not to be missed. Then you have a golf course, Pacific Dunes. Now, it's not the one in the States, the big one that we've all heard of. It's not that at Bandon. This is Pacific Dunes in New South Wales in Australia. It's at a little township of Medowie, which is just north of Newcastle Centre itself. And again, it's about an hour from Pecolbin, so another day trip. It's right near Newcastle Airport and was designed by James Wiltshire, who's a Sydney-based architect. He's done a couple of works around of note as well throughout Australia. It's a challenging track. It's probably one of the newest courses in the region. It's got soft undulations throughout, but it's got much more modern design style to it. So, when you get there, you'll see it. You'll get the idea of the way that the bunkers are shaped, the way that the course is presented, the slopes and the different cuts. And it's sort of more open to different types of sort of modern day players. It's got a little bit more width about it. Certainly has got some really good strategy behind some of the holes, which can be quite testing. But because it's new, you got new grass types. You've got modern equipment. There's nothing really aged about it. It's got a few water bodies and things in play as well. So it's one that does get talked about a lot by travelling golfers. I know when people travel up to the Newcastle and the Hunter, they do enjoy playing Pacific Dunes. So there's another one that is on your list when you go there. Like I said, it's a more modern design, and it's become a stop for many golf trippers away in that area. A little bit further afield, pushing towards an hour and a half drive into the Port Stephens area of Salamander Bay, you have Horizons Golf Club. Now, Horizons is a Ross Watson Graham Marsh design from back in the 90s. Similar to Cypress Lakes when it opened in the early 90s, there was basically this huge boom. I don't know what it was like in the rest of the world, but certainly on the east coast of Australia, from New South Wales up into the Gold Coast, there was this massive boom of golf course resorts being opened everywhere. And Horizons was another one of the resort courses that opened up on the east coast. Now, I haven't played Horizons for a very, very long time, and it has fallen off the map a little bit in regards of conditioning. It's had its ownership challenges and changes of late. The course should probably be a little bit better than it is, and I'm not rubbishing the golf course at all, but knowing what it was like in its early days to where it is now, it has struggled a little bit in the last sort of 10 to 15 years. Look, for me, it gets an honourable mention, but that's probably about all. You can't sort of go to that area without mentioning Horizons. If you're looking for another game, go there and play Horizons. But like I said, for me, it's probably just a little bit off the list, but it's still in that region, and it's still a resort course that that does get a mention because you'll hear about it. Nelson Bay Golf Club, a little bit further along towards the Tomaree Mountain Point, right out the end towards on the southern side of Port Stephens. Nelson Bay Golf Club is a 27-hole public access member-based golf course, and it's been around for quite a while and is always kept in great condition. It's more or less the stalwart of the Port Stephens region, and it's been around since opening for play in 1961. So it's been there. It's another one of these courses that you're going to struggle to get a game on because so many people, so many locals love it, and they get on it, play it regularly. It is set in absolutely spectacular natural native Australian bush near, like I mentioned, Tomaree National Park. You'll thoroughly enjoy yourself getting around Nelson's Bay, and quality surfaces all around. It's well established. The clubhouse burnt down about 4 years ago in a terrible accident fire. They've since got a brand new building there, and just another facet that brings out Nelson Bay a little bit better than it used to be, and is always slowly improving. But Nelson's Bay is a stalwart, one that you can't go wrong with. Absolutely no doubt about it, and its setting is quite spectacular. Moving further south, you can head for about an hour from Pecolbin. Everything's in an hour and a half from Pecolbin, and that's why they're all here. So I've broadened it as much as I can because some of these courses you just shouldn't miss. So further south, about an hour southeast, is Belmont Golf Club. Now, that's at the township of Belmont, which is on the east side of Lake Macquarie, and is built on the sand dunes of Blacksmiths Beach. I think some of these courses you often forget about. We used to holiday to this area. My family had a holiday property there. We used to holiday there a lot, go a lot of fishing. And you do forget about some of these golf courses that are literally built on sand. We talk about having great sites to build new golf courses on. Some of these older courses are on those great sites. They probably struggle a little bit financially and can't make themselves modernized a little bit more and improve their quality and improve their services, and certainly marketing wise get their name out there as much as they probably would love to. That's what I'm here for, and that's what I'm telling you about Belmont. So it's at Blacksmiths Beach, and we used to go fishing. I used to go fishing there with my father and brothers alongside the golf course out on the beach. Quite literally, the fairways are out more or less on the beach. We used to drive the four-wheel drive alongside it in the early hours of the morning with the headlights on, going, "Whoa, we're going to drive onto the golf course." It's really, really close to where we used to go fishing, and it's that close to the water. We used to find plenty of golf balls on the beach. That's just sort of how close it was to the water's edge. It's an older course. It's been around a while. Actually opened in 1952. A good track with some great holes along. And I keep talking about along the beach. You have to see it to believe it. Google Earth it. You'll get an idea of proximity. in particular the par 5 15th, which I don't actually know where the boundary of the course is, but the green nearly has an ocean side, has the ocean on the green side. It's that close. It's unreal. It's like I said, worth going to. All these ones are that I'll talk about, and Belmont's another one, but it's more for me. Belmont's really the location. You don't find courses on this sort of real estate anymore like this. It's quite spectacular. Just over an hour from Pecolbin, similar direction, but just a little bit further of a drive and a little bit wider around on the highway. You'll drive to a course called Magenta Shores. Now, it's more modern, Magenta Shores. You've probably heard about Magenta. Gets a lot of notoriety about it, a lot of magazines. People talk about it a lot. It's much newer. It's a newer course designed by Ross Watson. There's that name again. And is built on the spit of sand that's just north of the entrance suburb itself, between Tuggerah Lake and the Pacific Ocean. It's a beautiful piece of ground. It's a tough golf course. Now, I played it in its early days, and it was much tougher than it is today. They've done a lot with managing the length of the rough, out of play areas. That shows you how wide I was hitting it, but we won't talk about that. It's another story. But they've had to make the course a little bit easier because it was considered very, very tough and a little bit too difficult when the wind got up. There's plenty of run out in the fairways. There's lots and lots and lots of man-made movement in this land. Lots. It's almost like the moguls in some points. There's also a ridiculous amount of sand in terms of bunkering. And that's because it was built on an old disused rubbish tip. So they made the most of it. I've read stories and read articles about where there was some elevation changes of some 7 meters to bring the course to the elevation and the levels that they wanted to. So they basically had free reign because it was just a mess. So they made a bad area good, and they turned it into this beautiful, unique golf course. Again, top-notch real estate. It's got development around it, housing estate, and so on, and a resort on site. And it's one to play. It can be quite tough for me, especially when the wind blows, and it can be quite long. There's lots and lots of run, and there's plenty of the undulations. Could be a little bit on the overdone side, but a good golf course nonetheless to enjoy if you're looking to continue into your 2 weeks of golf based in from the Hunter Valley. So we now move a little bit further again to further south from another day trip to a place called Cowinda Waters at Wyong. Now, Cowinda Waters opened before Magenta and was designed by, again, Ross Watson, but this time it was in conjunction with Craig Parry. And there's that name I mentioned earlier, Craig Parry, the former touring pro that's doing a bit of golf design now. But this was sort of one of his early day stuff. And, you know, these two collaborated together in building Cowinda. They put a name to it being a touring pro name of Craig Parry. And Cowinda Waters was born, basically. For me, it's probably less, I won't say painful, that's probably unfair to Magenta, but a little bit more of a gentler game of golf. A little bit more of a gentler round than Magenta. And because of that, I think more people are probably going to enjoy Cowinda a little bit more. I love Cowinda. They've swapped the nines. So the back nine, what was the back nine is now the front nine from when I played it. So it's a little bit different. I think it's got to do with noise. I liked the old routing, but I believe there's some neighbouring issues there on that course. Again, houses and things in and around the golf course. Sometimes it disappoints me, and I find it sad when they do that. But still a good golf course nonetheless. Still challenges you. Still got some great holes. And look, out of all of that long list of golf courses in that region, for me, are the recommendations to play. You could go there for 2 days. You could go there for 2 weeks at the Hunter Valley and play all of these courses. And there's some other courses there as well. You know, Brankston is a good little 9-hole golf course that I get told about a lot, just north of Pecolbin by about, I think it's 15, 20 minutes. Like I mentioned, Curry, Maitland. So there are other courses. Cessnock, sadly, is no longer with us. It's a golf course that closed down. But you can go a little bit further afield up in the Upper Hunter to Muswellbrook. Plenty of countryside to see as well in your travels. But that's the Hunter Valley, Newcastle. I did stretch a little bit further south towards Sydney, but it's not in the metro, so I still consider it regional, if you like. Quite an extensive golf region, and there's stacks more courses to play, but they're just some of my faves, guys. The Hunter Valley and Newcastle. Now we'll move to the Southern Highlands. This is another golf destination of mine that I do like, the Southern Highlands of New South Wales. It's nearly an hour and a half south of Sydney. So we're out of the city limits. That's the idea. We're still in the regions, still in the regional areas. Places like Mittagong, Mossvale, Bowral, they're the townships I'm talking about. It's been a long time, very popular holiday and weekend destination, this area, the Southern Highlands. And it's got some beautiful, beautiful countryside to visit. There's wineries there, there's plenty of wineries around, and there's historic architecture. And of course, it's the home of the Bradman Museum and the International Cricket Hall of Fame. If you're into that thing, and the Bradman Oval. We all know who Sir Donald Bradman is. Australia's greatest cricketer, and arguably, well, probably not arguably, the best cricketer that ever lived. And Bowral is his hometown. So there are other things to do there, and it's a richly popular. You'll see it if you go there on weekends. It's packed, absolutely packed to the eyeballs. But it's similar to the Blue Mountains, which is west of Sydney, and I had in my last podcast in Golf Travel, in terms of its climate and holiday popularity, because it's just out of town. So there are plenty of accommodation destinations to pick. There's some great resorts here in this area and in these townships along the way, and there's some great golf to boot. We'll start off with Highlands Golf Club, which is in Mittagong, which is basically the first course you'll come across when you're driving from Sydney. Now, it's not quite 100 years old, the club itself, but it's one that's on the list to play in the area. All the courses down here are cool climate courses, which means that spring and autumn are the best times to play here, in my opinion, due to the courses. They sort of struggle a little bit too much in the summer heat because they're highland courses, they're cool season grasses, they do burn off a little bit. And winter can be a little bit too tough if you get cold, windy, rainy, snowy days, that sort of thing. So spring and autumn are the picks, and you get the beautiful flowers in springtime, the beautiful autumn colours, and in the autumn time of the year where the leaves turn colour and fall to the ground. But, you know, it's open all year round, but the colours of the Southern Highlands, again, like the Blue Mountains, are quite exceptional. And, you know, if you've never seen anything like it before on a golf course, you'll be taking photos like a Japanese tourist everywhere. It is just absolutely beautiful. Now, Highlands is a par 70 golf course, so it's not a bad walk, but in the routing of the course, one thing that sort of bugs me a little bit, it's got this unusual finish to your round, and you'll know it's not a detriment to the course. It's just sort of a little bit like I talked about with Newcastle, where you just go, oh, it's a little bit off. And all it is, nothing serious. It's just a personal thing. It has 3 par 3s in the last 4 holes. The 18th is a great little short par 3 across the creek down to the clubhouse. But to have 3 par 3s in your last 4 holes, I like long holes to finish. But I think 3 par 3s, it's almost like they squeezed them in and just struggled a little bit to finish their routing off. But a golf course nonetheless that's got good notoriety down that end of town in the Southern Highlands to play. Bowral Golf Club is only 119 years old, and it started and began life in 1901. So we have a very well-established golf club here at Bowral Golf Club. Now, it's well regarded in the area, always maintained and presented very, very well. It's not overly long at a par 69, but again, like the Blue Mountains, for me, that's a reflection on that area. Space isn't always available, but this is a great course to casually enjoy when visiting the area. It's a good walk. It's an easier walk, not too many elevation changes, and well presented. You're going to enjoy Bowral, and you know it's the oldest one in the area. It's a good track. Mossvale Golf Club. So each of the townships basically has a golf club. Mossvale Golf Club is the furthest south of the 3 townships itself, and it's the second oldest, only 1 year less than Bowral. It started in 1902. Its current layout was done by the one and only Carnegie Clark. So it was reworked by Carnegie Clark in 1936 and has remained basically the same layout ever since, with just some minor changes around the edges, if you like, with bunkers and greens and that sort of stuff. But in essence, the layout's the same. Now, for those that don't know Carnegie Clark, he only won 3 Australian Opens and 2 Australian PGAs in the early 1900s. So yes, it's an older name, but that gives you a little bit of its history. And these areas like the Blue Mountains and the Southern Highlands are close enough to Sydney, but far enough away that they attracted lots of popular and famous people, certainly in golf circles as well. It wasn't uncommon to get, top-end golfers to go away on weekends, holidays, visit these areas, whether they be redesigning golf courses as well. So there's plenty of history in golf in these areas that's sort of fallen off the radar a little bit as we see the the modern magenta shores and Ross Watson designs of the world. So really enjoyable to play. Carnegie Clark also went on to be the founding treasurer of the Australian PGA. So that gives you an idea of the caliber of person that he was. And this is one of the courses that he adjusted and designed. It's definitely one to play on your list, is Moss Vale Golf Club. I'll finish off the Southern Highlands with my favourite, and it's the newest of the bunch, which isn't always my favourite, but Mount Broughton Golf Club. Now, Mount Broughton is a touch further south again than Moss Vale. It's just out of the township itself, and it's basically out in the paddocks of the region, the grazing areas of the region. It opened in 1994, and it's clearly, by a long shot, like I said, the youngest course of the area. It was designed by Frank Phillips, who was the winner of 2 Australian Opens and the New Zealand PGA back in the 50s and 60s. There's a collaboration between Frank Phillips and Billy Dunk. Now, Billy Dunk won 5 Australian PGA championships and the New Zealand Open. So these guys are nothing to sneeze at in terms of the caliber of golf and where they stood in the golfing world. Billy Dunk also, he won over 100 tournaments throughout his career and broke over 80 golf course records. Now, he can certainly play golf back in the day. I actually had the pleasure of and the fortune of meeting Billy Dunk when I was 16 back in 1996 at the Sydney Golf Show when I was a kid. And my neighbour at the time, Edgar Oatman, was also a former pro, and he was a good friend of Billy's, and he introduced me. And I had a set of Billy Dunk clubs as a junior, and I was like a kid beaming wide-eyed meeting Billy Dunk. I was like, wow, it's the guy who built my golf clubs. So it was pretty special at the time, and that's my little claim to fame, I suppose, meeting Billy Dunk. Now, these two guys designed Mount Broughton together, and it is an absolute behemoth of a golf course. It measures in at 6,619 metres from the back plates. Now, that's over 7,200 yards. This is an epically long golf course. The joint is just immense and remarkable at the same time. When I played there for the first time, I was absolutely speechless, time and time again, with how unreal it looked and played. A lot has changed over the years here, and things have been a little bit up and down with ownership again. I've had a few ownership changes, but when I was there a few years ago, it was improving very well, and the condition was starting to get better and better because I'd heard lots of things, and I wasn't sure whether to go there or not, and I did. And again, I'm glad that I made that choice. My favourite point of the course is the top of the second tee. It's a 227-metre par 3. It's just, like I said, everything about this course is huge. Yes, and there's a creek in front of the green too, so you can't run it up. Everything is big. You don't have to play the course from the back of it. It can be negotiated by shorter hitters, but it has options for many different skill level golfers, which I do like. I like it when courses are set up with forward tees. If you don't want to play from the back, whatever. It's just, there's also this monster par 5, the 15th. It's 575 metres from the plates. There's a par 4, 14th, which is a couple of homage bunkers to the church pews of Oakmont in the States. There's a lot of quirks, but a lot of good stuff about this golf course. I really do love Mount Broughton. It's more of a linksland style course, open pasture in the rough, long grass, knee high, snakes, all that sort of stuff out of the way in the sort of long stuff. I've got a couple of photos on on some of my older posts on Instagram about it. It just presents so well with the contrast in length of grass and everything. It's probably the best example of this type of linksland style course away from the coast in New South Wales. There you go. I've said it. I think Mount Broughton is probably the best example of linksland away from the coast. There's plenty of great examples on the coast, but this is the best away from it, in my opinion. And it's an absolute must play on the Southern Highlands. You can't go there without playing it. And it is where I'll finish off the Southern Highlands golf trip for you. Plenty of accommodation choices down there. Plenty of golf. Heaps to do. You'll love the Southern Highlands. Now, the final holiday golfing destination for golf travel in New South Wales, for me, where I'll group some courses for you to play and have a trip away to, is the Wollongong Illawarra area south of Sydney. Now, it's about an hour and a half south of Sydney, Wollongong. Now, if you base yourself at Wollongong, I think you're going to absolutely have a whale of a time. Big city for that area. Good, plenty of holiday options, a very popular holiday area on the coast. Fantastic. Get out of Sydney, hour and a half away, and plant yourself at Wollongong. Wollongong Golf Club is one of the oldest golf clubs in Australia and started itself in 1897. So we're in the 1800s. Now, Southern Highlands was old, the Blue Mountains is old. This is old. This is older. So there's only a couple of golf courses in the country that are older than this, and I can't think of them off the top of my head. But 1897 is Wollongong Golf Club. Now, it's situated a bit like Belmont that I mentioned up the Hunter Valley one. It's right on the beach, right on the sand. And it's a link-style course, open to the elements, right on the water's edge, plenty of wind comes into play, all that sort of stuff. It's gone through a number of changes in recent times with some courseworks that have been done, working on some of the layout of the holes and the way that they've rebuilt some greens and bunkers and stuff like that. So there's been a few changes. It's not what it was 50 years ago. It's not what it was back in 1897, of course. But it's a great test of golf. And for those that love their link-style golf courses, this is one that's on the coast that you want to play. Now, I will say about the Wollongong Illawarra region, I don't know this that well. I've done my research into this. So these aren't based on any of my experience, but this is through what I hear and some of the research that I've made into the area and getting a bit of background information as well. But Wollongong is something that I think should be on your list. We go a little bit, so you're based at Wollongong. Half an hour south of Wollongong is the Links Shell Cove. Now, this place is not that old, and it really is looking the goods. And I've heard a lot of good stuff about the Links Shell Cove as well. I've met and spoken with the former superintendent who was sort of giving me a bit of insight into, when it was being built and not long after it had opened and how it was being maintained. And I saw some photos and even now it looks fantastic. They're really, really working hard on creating their own brand, and it's really starting to stand out from the crowd, Links at Shell Cove. This is, it's a course that opened in 2004. Didn't have a lot of fanfare. It wasn't too long after that it was maintained by council as well. It's recently started to implement a few more new changes and improvements to the course, which I'm hearing about, I'm reading about, that sort of thing. And they're trying to make it better and better. Again, it's similar to Wollongong in that it's a link-style golf course, but this one's not on the sand. It's not on the beach itself. It's a little bit further in, not quite on the water's edge. But one that I've been hearing lots about, they've got, you can find photos about the golf course. It's got some really, really good testing holes, looking at the maps and stuff that I've seen on their website in particular. Spoken to a couple of people who have played it and people who have worked there. And like I said, it's on your list, being a more modern course and certainly down that region. I don't think you can go wrong with the Links at Shell Cove. They recently completed their clubhouse, for example, as well. So they're spending some money. They're investing in the place, and it's starting to show, which is really, really good. Now, I'm going to move a little bit further south again to Gerringong. It's about an hour or so, about 45 minutes or so from Wollongong south. And for me, this is your sleeper course. This is one that people don't rave about, but I think on its own, and the more people get out there and they use social media to talk about this course and other golf courses, I think you'll find this is your little sleeper course that people will go, I don't know how, I don't know why, no one knows about it, but you need to go and play Gerringong. Some of the things that I've heard, I know a couple of people have played it. Again, I haven't played it myself, but I've done a little bit of research on it, spoken to some people, and they're golfers that love their golf, and they just said, Gerringong, you got to play there. You got to play there. So this is one of the golf trips that I'm actually looking forward to doing myself. So I probably wrote it for me more than anyone else. It's the sleeper. Again, like I said, I'm starting to hear a lot more about it. Again, it's a link-style course. It's on the water's edge, but this one is sort of out. It's out on the edge, but it's above the beaches below. It's sort of more or less on the edge of the world. It's set amongst the grazing lands, the townships of between Gerringong and Gerroa. So it's between the two townships, and it's just up this little headland. The course just looks like it's going to absolutely amaze you. No notable golf course architects here. No big wow bunker faces and arrangements of bunkers that'll just get you sitting there going, oh my God, look at this. What have they done here? This is amazing. It's more, look, it's like they said in the movie The Castle: location, location, location. And this golf course is just got it in spades. I don't know this region that well. I've driven through there, but don't know it intimately, like I know the Blue Mountains, for example. But some of this land is spectacular, and Gerringong is on that spectacular land. Now, it's set above Walker's Beach, and it moves around the high points of this magnificent piece of ground in sensational fashion. Like I said, it's the sleeper for me, and it's a place that will just, it's the wow course. Even more so because it often flies under the radar of most people heading down south, talking about south, playing golf courses on the south. Gerringong Golf Club, that's your sleeper. That's probably one of the big tickets, strangely enough, for this area. We're going to head further south again. You're based at Wollongong. You've got Wollongong Golf Club. You've got the links at Shell Cove, or the links Shell Cove. You've got Gerringong Golf Club. And the last one, the last pick for me, is a 4-course pick, is Shoalhaven Heads Golf Club. Now, it's about an hour south of Wollongong, so it's not a bad little drive. It's located in the township of Shoalhaven Heads, of course. They're often named after the towns, like most of these sorts of golf courses. And it's near the mouth of, wait for it, the Shoalhaven River. It's a big river down there. It supplies a lot of water to Sydney as well, and the southern beaches region, the south coast of New South Wales too. Now, this course is set amongst native bushland. For me, from what I've seen about it, what I've heard about it, this course is a little bit like the setting of sort of Newcastle, that type of thing, which is beautiful bushland. It's right by the beach. It's adjacent to the beach, sandy sort of site. It's a little bit like Tuncurry as well. So think of those sorts of courses, and it's just this magnificent setting, really, for a golf course. And it looks spectacular. Good, soft undulations throughout, enough to keep you interested on your way around. A little bit of the ground game involved there. And this is sort of the one that locals know, but everyone else drives past. Well, I'm putting it on the map for you. This is one you want to play. This is one you want to stop at. This is the one you want to put in your little golf trip. It's well worth stopping here for sure. And, I think if you've got this list of 4 courses, like I said, long weekend, a few days down the south coast, you're going to enjoy it. It's a beautiful part of the country. It's on my list to go there. That's why I've included it here, and I've heard about these places too. So for me, it's something that I'm interested in doing. But Wollongong, the Links Shell Cove, Gerringong, and Shoalhaven Heads. And that's your 4 courses for the Wollongong Illawarra region, just south of Sydney. That's my last segment for New South Wales travelling golf. I really hope you enjoyed me bringing out to you some of these golf courses in these regions further afield than being in Sydney Metro, across the state, seeing as we're locked into our state more or less, apart from a little bit in South Australia. But I hope you've got something out of it. I hope you go and play one of these courses, 2 of these courses, some of these courses, if you've never played them before. And if you have, go and enjoy them again. What better time than right now to get out there and enjoy travelling around this state of New South Wales? It's absolutely fantastic. Golf courses that we need to enjoy again, that we've long forgotten possibly. Just get out there and do that road trip and go and have some fun. I promise you, you'll love it. You'll love the people. You'll love seeing the countryside. It's better than you remember, I promise you. And with the weather we've got on, this beautiful rainfall we've had late winter into spring, some of these courses are just really standing out. Go out there and enjoy it, guys. I really hope you have a whale of a time no matter where you go, which courses you play. I promise you'll have fun. And there you have it, guys. Episode number 9 for the Golf and Greenkeeper podcast. Thank you so much again for your time, taking the time out of your day, out of your morning, out of your evening to listen to the podcast. I hope you got something out of it, whether it be a little bit of news, getting excited about what's happening in golf across the country, a little bit from the Greenkeepers Shed, trying to get you thinking about the relationships between golf course maintenance and architecture, and equally then your experience. And it'll get you thinking about what you can take from your golf experience itself. Why have you thinking about why you felt that way, or why you experienced what you did? What were the reason behind it? And also what to listen for when you talk to people, and you can break down what they're talking about, so that you can decide whether you want to go and play that golf course, or you want to wait, for example, to play that golf course because you know they're doing a bit of work, or something that piques your interest. You read about it, you go, you know what? I've understood more about what they're talking about, and I now want to go and play that track, and I think I'm going to enjoy myself. So the idea is to give you just a little bit more info that you can understand what's being spoken of and what to listen for and what to try and understand about your experience and why you come away with what you did. And hopefully, if you're involved in any of these clubs, you can try and improve the clubs as well. Try and see how they can do things better. So I hope you got something out of that too. And of course, the golf travel segment, I really hope you think about making a golf trip away at the moment. We can, like I said, do the road trip thing and get out there and enjoy some courses that are outside Sydney Metro, places we may have long forgotten and we haven't been to for a long time. Really get out there and enjoy it. You keep hitting them clean. We'll keep keeping them green. Go and have some fun playing golf.